We have Nancy Pelosi's trying to create a hot war with China. One of the most terrifying and depressing pieces of information I've ever seen has pulled across my desk. And this is something that I've talked about in the past as a fear of mine for this presidency. I thought that Joe Biden being elected would actually make us worse off in the long run than even a Trump reelect. I thought that at certain points. I'm not saying that was my like definitive prediction. That was a fear I had. And so I can't claim credit for being right on this one. I saw this as a possibility, not as a full-blown like prediction. And the thing that's really concerning me is that it seems to be being torn out. The hogs are going so wild. I think I heard an analogy from Emma from the Majority Report where she said that it's like somebody who broke into a safe deposit box and the alarm has gone off in the bank. You might as well just try to steal as much shit as you can. You might as well go for the gold bars. Maybe you broke into the safe deposit box to steal grandma's Rolex, but you're already a bank robber at this point. You might as well just grab as much as you can. And it seems to me that that's what's happening and that there is no one stopping them. And I think that the more and more extreme elements of the far right are becoming more and more emboldened. It's like jumping out of a plane without a parachute. Like, that's liberalism. It's like that ancient cartoon gag of, jumping out of a plane and you think you have a parachute, but you open it and it's just like an inflatable raft. That's exactly what we're at right now.
I think that...
So it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. And this is a story I wanted to show you yesterday, but I didn't get around to it. Basically, young conservatives baffled that Republicans voted against abortion access. And I think this is something that I've talked about. This is one of Mike's axioms. I don't say it enough, but it's one of my insights to politics that I would suggest. Like, if you learn some of my insights, you will kind of understand where things are going and why things are the way they are. One of the main things about conservatism is this. The project of a conservative politician is to conceal to his supporters what he actually believes. That's it. The project of a conservative politician is to conceal to his voters what he actually believes. And so you'll have all these people saying they're conservative, but when you go and ask them, like, do you believe in a woman's right to choose? They're like, yes, I believe a woman should choose. Do you like Social Security and Medicare? Yes, I like Social Security and Medicare. What do you think the minimum wage should do? We should increase it. What do you think about blah, 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 blah? You go down the issue, in even a significant chunk of conservative voters, 30 to 40 to 50% of them oftentimes support a left-wing position on policy, even on the majority of policies. And the thing is, it's not that they think that they're making a compromise by voting for the Republican on those issues. They don't think the Republican has and Republican politicians have any impact on their thoughts on those issues. And one of the most difficult things is a lot of people that are, anti-Republican know those things. But when you communicate with someone who identifies as a Republican, you don't see it. Remember, Trump used to donate to Hillary Clinton? Oh, absolutely. So here's an example. And this is one of the funniest examples because, of course, and yet Republican voters don't seem to get it. There's a great example of this in the UK. They show a bunch of old right-wing voters a load of Jeremy Corbyn policy. They all loved it. Then they showed whose policies they were, and they all turned their noses up. Exactly. Once you understand that the messenger is more important than the message in a lot of cases for a lot of people, you're in a different place. And let me say this right now. I want to say this right now so everyone understands it. If you actually care about policy, you're a freak. If you actually care about policy, you are a fucking freak. All right, let's go.
Younger conservatives may be looking up and seeing, wow, their party, the GOP, is almost like that dog that actually managed to catch the car and has gotten its snout smashed in. Last week, all but 8 Republicans in the U.S. House voted against a bill that would protect access to contraceptives. Republican opposition to the bill surprised no one except the conservatives, younger conservatives who voted these politicians into office. Here's a sample. Farting Tacos, a conservative, says, why vote against H.R. 8373 birth control bill? Okay, my ignorance is showing. I'm looking at H.R. 8373 and having a difficult time reading it because all I hear in my head is Nancy Pelosi's shrill voice as if she were reading the dang thing. Why would anyone?
So there you go, chat. Now do you get it? And a conservative, how does he write about a bill? He writes about Nancy Pelosi's shrill voice. What? All he knows is that he hates Nancy Pelosi, and she agrees with it, so it must be bad. That's it. Farting Tacos. Jesus Christ.
Vote against the bill. I've been a conservative my entire life, and even I would support something that ensures that a contraceptive was available to anyone who wanted actual family planning services. Are people concerned that abortions would be considered contraceptives? Is it a gateway during drug kind of situation? I've got to be.
Is it a gateway drug? Good job, idiot. Gateway drug. Yeah, chat. First you take that birth control pill, and then you're like, I need to control my reproductive system even more. Oh, I need that abortion. I need that abortion. That's the only way it can feel good anymore. You know, the IUD isn't hitting anymore. I need that abortion. I mean, like, look.
To be missing something.
They're right. Like, this is something people don't. This is something that people don't know. But that when you have an abortion, it's like having the best acupuncture, massage, and back crack of your entire life. This is something that isn't talked about a lot. But when you have an abortion, it feels really good. And this is, and listen, obviously I've never had an abortion. I don't have a uterus. I don't know. But according to the testimony of Nicole Mullen, she says, can we stop pretending like abortions don't feel good? And like, so I think that all of you should take a look at Nicole's words. And here it is. Let me let you fellas in on a little secret. Women don't get mammograms to prevent breast cancer. We get them because it feels good to have our. Okay, I'm sorry. This is too stupid. That actually, I gotta say, is one of the best pieces of satire ever. It's so good, man. It's so good. I don't know what to say. Nicole Mullen, holy shit. Only 8 Republicans voted for contraception. We should hit them over the head with that to their voters every day. Your party opposes contraception. That implies that Democrats, A, have the ability to, B, the desire to, or 3, they're not listened to. You understand? Like, Democrats are not listened to by anyone, even when they tell the truth.
Here, insights and thoughts. Oh, by the way, that post got almost 2,000 upvotes, so a lot of people agreed. Here's some of the comments on that post. Birth control has literally prevented more abortions than any other entity, hands down. It's true. Bobby Wake writes, it also prevents a lot of...
The thing about Art Conservative is when a post gets upvoted to the front page or whatever, it just gets bombarded with Reddit liberals. So you don't actually know what Reddit conservatives think on a popular post. You have to go to like the posts that have a lot less traction to actually see what the freaks that are conservative say. I got banned on Art Conservative, gosh, in 2011? I mean, you know, a decade ago. My parents no longer identify as Republican because I keep telling them how immoral they are. They still identify as conservative. Conservative is a meaningless title. It means abso-fucking-lutely nothing. Why do I mean that? It's a highly contextual word. There is no such thing as conservatism, really. It's only a contextual of, so like, for example, if you were a conservative in 1989 Soviet Union, you opposed glasnost. You opposed the liberalization that Gorbachev was trying to put in. You wanted to conserve the status quo. If you were a conservative, you were a royalist in the English Civil War. If you were a conservative in the United States of America, you're some sort of like neoliberal fusion with evangelical American style Christianity. It doesn't mean anything. It has no essence to it other than this kind of generic insight that, well, what we've done in the past, we may not rationally understand it, but there's a wisdom of the ancients. And just because we can't explain it doesn't mean it's not right. That's the fundamental insight of conservatism. There, you got it. Just because we don't understand why we do something doesn't mean it's not worth doing. You don't have to rationally understand everything for it to be good. That's it. I thought conservatism was an ideology structured around reactionary ideas, worship of tradition, and focus of power on an authority figure. That is so. I think, Asmodiah, I think you have something there. I think that's how conservatism would generically be described. What I'm trying to say is it's a highly contextual belief system, meaning it's subjective to whatever society or structure you're in. I grew up a conservative socialist over this one. So how are you conservative? What are you conserving? And I got him down to basically, I want a modest, honor-based culture. I really don't understand to this day because he was pro-abortion and pro-LGBT. Okay. Oh, okay. So hair is up every day, so no more gamma. Honestly, I would tell you that I think that gamma shouldn't even happen, honestly, because it's like hot. Like, what am I gonna do? Leave my hair down in the heat? Like, that's crazy. All right, let's keep going. Actually, the English Civil War was the inception of the Conservative Party, talking the opposite side of the Royalists and being quite radical at the time for a parliamentary democracy, not to be a pendant. I don't think they were a conservative party, actually. I think that was the Whigs. I think there was the Whigs.
STDs. Maybe that is the reason. High Caliber Mitch, another conservative. It's not even a government will pay bill. Diomed One wrote, who was voting against this? I really want to know. I will be watching my Republican congressman regarding this. My mother and I are conservative and fully support it. We believe birth control prevents abortions. It's a good thing. Environmental East wrote, because we are on the wrong side, follow the money. Birth control is acceptable. Same as voting against pot. We're getting left behind. Our causes are being lost because our leaders are stuck in 1900. Somebody else writes, I never thought leopards would eat my face. Sobs woman who voted for the leopards eating people's
leopards. I think they meant leopards. They meant leopards.
Faces party. By the way, in terms of the polling, Americans massively support access to contraception. That won't come as much of a surprise. Birth control enjoys broad public support. A large majority of all adults, 86%, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, and political affiliation and region, support access to all methods of contraception. Nearly 9 in 10 adults, 87%, agree that everyone deserves access to the full range of birth control methods, no matter who they are, where they live, and what their economic status is. Adrian, for the last couple of years, a lot of women's rights groups have been saying, you know what, it's not going to be just we're banning abortion, except in the cases of the rape, incest, and life of the mother. They're going to go full ban on abortions. And a lot of more centrist Democrats said, no, that's not what the Republicans want. The Republicans will never commit political suicide by going that far and by banning all abortions and by banning contraception. And that's what they're doing in state after state. The evangelicals, the right-wing Christian fundamentalists have said, okay, we got a victory at the Supreme Court. Let's go even further. So the people who were worried years ago have been proven right. And a lot of Democrats, in my view, have been caught asleep at the switch.
No, absolutely. It's like there have been so many of us out there who have been speaking.
So yeah. Just for that one person, if you want to know the origin of like the political party, like the anti-royalists were the Whigs, and it was actually the royalists who became Tories. But that's after the resolution of the English Civil War.
Speaking truth, and it's just so incredibly weird because people, of course, they don't want to listen, but now they're going to be in situations, especially this one in particular, where if you lose access to contraceptives, all of a sudden, as a man, maybe you thought this doesn't bother me because it doesn't impact me, but all of a sudden you're going to be stuck with some kids you don't want. How's that going to go for you? Like, there are so many people out there who have buried their head in the sand, who don't listen to people, who don't listen to experts, don't listen to people who have dogs in the fight. And then they're just stuck on stupid, and all of a sudden they're shocked and shaken. And I really don't have anything more for them. It's like you don't listen anyway, so why am I going to exhaust myself again by trying to educate you about what's to come? Just suffer the consequences. The crummy part is that it's going to be people like me and people who look like me who are going to suffer the most. It's just a matter of so many people didn't want to do a damn thing about it when they could. So I don't know.
I remember 25 years ago during the Clinton administration, I think it was Bill Clinton who said something like, we need to make abortions less necessary. And that was his way of saying, let's have more sex education in school. Let's make contraception more readily available. Let's pass.
See, the problem is, and this should explain everything of why Democrats fail. I'm going to explain it to you very. quickly. A society where people use phrases like, oh, we need to make abortion less common and abortion is shameful, is a society with more abortions. Because it's fundamentally an anti-woman, anti-uterus haver position. If you actually cared about women's reproductive health, you wouldn't have any shame in supporting abortions. And therefore, you would have less abortions because women would have access or, free access to contraceptives. They would have sex education. People would have long-term birth control. You're not planning to have a child anytime soon, you would get long-term birth control. And it would be structured for your body and your needs. Pregnancies would still happen. Mistakes happen. But abortions would be heavily reduced. Why? Because people actually understand human sexuality. They don't try to go, ooh, having sex is bad. An absolutely asinine position that conservatives hold. Conservatives hold the idea that consensual sex between adults is on its face bad and shameful. Imagine having that brain. Imagine having that fucking brain. And we, in a sense, have to live in that society. We have to live in a society where casual sex is seen as shameful. It's fucking baffling. It's fucking baffling. I mean, my position is quite frankly this. It's fun activity. It's awesome to do. It's even better when you're with someone that you really like or love. But it's not a big deal. Who gives a shit? Who fucking cares? And we still have a significant portion of our society that are simultaneously obsessed with and repulsed by sex to such a fucking ridiculous ridiculous level that we have thousands of people dying and spreading these STDs and having unwanted pregnancies. It's fucking baffling, man. Chaotic, thank you for the 14 months. It's just, Jesus Christ. Conservatives are anti-fun. They believe that common people should only be obedient workers and sleepers. Basically, conservatives believe that you should not be allowed to have pleasure unless you're high up in the hierarchy, right? Pleasure is reserved for the elect. If you're a minimum wage worker, you shouldn't be allowed to have a comfortable home. You shouldn't be allowed to have leisure. You shouldn't be allowed to have a sexual partner and children. They believe that. They believe you should be a drone with nothing of happiness until you die. That's what conservatives fucking believe. They are psychotic.
At condoms at community centers. Let's make sure people know how to use contraception. And Republicans who said that they were against abortion didn't want to go there. They didn't want to talk about contraception. They didn't want to talk about birth control. And some of us, I think, in the media just said, okay, well, this is too squeamish of an issue for them. Maybe they're worried politically about their evangelical base. And so they just don't want to talk about it, even though when you talk to most Republicans away from the cameras, they'll say, of course, we believe in contraception. Of course, we believe in birth control to prevent unwanted pregnancies. But now the Republicans are stuck. It's like now we found out, no, Republicans really just didn't want to address the issue. They didn't want to address birth control. They wanted to go a lot farther than abortion. And so for younger conservatives in particular, and Adrian, I've had a couple of friends now who have said they have family members who are, one family member who's not going to go to Tulane University in Louisiana because that's a state that has some of the most draconian laws against reproductive rights. Somebody else who's not going to go to school in University of Texas Law School because of the Texas abortion. So it feels like this is the next step that, okay, for Democrats or progressives, yes, we lost at the Supreme Court, but now there's a price that we can exact on these institutions and on people by using the power of our pocketbooks and wallets to say, okay, if you're a state that's going to do this, then you're going to have to pay.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact is that's going to hit our economy, our GDP, everything about how we do business is now going to tank. The problem is that a lot of us states, many of us blue states that have been sustaining the rest of the nation, Callie, what's up, are going to have to bear even more when everyone else starts going under, when people don't want to go to certain states, when those institutions and businesses start falling apart. And it's unfair because also the decisions they're making are unwise. They are curbing people's civil rights without having any good reason whatsoever, other than wanting to maintain this faux puritanical nonsense upon which our nation is built, even though it does nothing more than wax poetic to the ignorant. And I am tired of it. The vast majority of Americans are tired of it. But if they don't start voting in a way that doesn't focus on uplifting white male supremacy, we are simply going to get more of it.
And I agree with this actually, but there's a little, I have a little quirk for that, which is if you vote for any member of the Democratic establishment, you're voting for white supremacy. You're voting to uphold patriarchy. You're voting for, if you vote for any blue dog or any new Democrat or any kind of moderate Democrat, you are doing the same thing as if you voted for a Republican. They are the same thing. A moderate Democrat is the same thing as a Republican. If you elect somebody like Joe Manchin, you are going to get the same outcome as if you elected a fucking Matt Gaetz. It's the same shit.
I agree 100%, and I feel like, I mean, this is so. There are a lot of reasons to be embarrassed and by the United States, by our racist past and present. By the way, you know, police have disparities in how they treat white people and black people.
Is Josh like that? I would say Josh is, okay. I would say that there's different types of establishment Democrats, right? There is establishment Democrats like Josh Shapiro who are nominally fine. Or like Gavin Newsom, right? Or the Democratic Party, you know, like most of those people, they're not going to do any, like if they have to, or a situation arises where like a minimum wage bill comes up, they're going to vote for it. Or they're going to vote for like mostly good things. All right? Compared to what we have now. But are they going to actually fight for anything? Probably not. So I think of Josh as just like, he's fine, whatever. Like, he's not gonna, you're not gonna hear a story about him based on the politics of Pennsylvania, where Pennsylvania is at right now, where it's going to excite you, really, which is the way to look at it. Then there's people like, I'll give you an example, Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries' entire political career is focused on destroying the left, right? He is a numero uno enemy. If there's one politician that I consider to be the most dangerous politician of the next 25 years, it's Hakeem Jeffries. Second place is probably Pete. I would put Hakeem Jeffries and then Pete. Like if I were to say like, all right, these are the politicians that are most likely to cause the extinction of humanity, I would put Pete up there at like 2. Because from my perspective, the only way we're going to have any kind of success in saving significant parts of human civilization is if we have a strong left in America. Obviously, the right-wing politicians are all terrible and irredeemable in every way, but I see them as overcomeable, actually. I think Trump is beatable. I think the average person looks at Trump and goes, that guy's a fucking lunatic. So I don't consider him to be the threat. The threat is confusion on our side. The threat is infighting, resulting in Trump becoming the victorious. You know, so somebody like Pete, if he wins, he's going to spend all his time deactivating and disarming the left and attacking the left. Right? He's not gonna. That is more of a threat to the left than even a right winger, because no one on the nominal left is going to be disarmed by Donald Trump, but some people on the left are going to be tricked by Pete Buttigieg. And that is a stronger threat to humanity than even the right is. So I would put like Hakeem Jeffries is this like number. I would say that like AIPAC, Hakeem Jeffries, AIPAC and all the alliance shit, Hakeem Jeffries, Pete Buttigieg are, I would say, the biggest threats to humanity right now in the world by far. Because they are the organizations that are manipulating American politics and corrupting the Democratic Party and making it totally ineffective in responding to anything on the right. Basically making it a breeding ground for fascism. I heard someone say this. I heard someone tweet this, and I agree with it completely, which was, The Democratic Party is doing exactly what it should do if it was trying to create a fascist America. I'll say that again. The Democratic Party is doing exactly what you would want it to do if you were trying to create a fascist America. Disarm the resistance on the left. Focus on punching the left. Accomplishing absolutely nothing. Not exercising any power and guarding against the rising far right. Just disabling and preventing and disrupting all organizations that are trying to fight and respond to the right. Defending totally corrupted institutions like the Supreme Court. Can you explain to me? I can't get it. I honest to God can't get it. I think Joe Biden is trying to cause the United States to fall to fascism. I really do. Because if you look at what Joe Biden's doing, he refuses to say the Supreme Court is illegitimate. Barack Obama had a seat stolen from him. And then they appointed Amy Coney Barrett 7 days before the election. 7. And Joe Biden is saying that's legitimate? How does that make sense? It's insane. It's one thing for you to say, oh, I think they're illegitimate, but, you know, they have the power and we're going to do everything we can to undermine it. He's not even undermining the Supreme Court. People in America are hating the Supreme Court on their own, not being led by the Democrats, on their fucking own, not being led by MSNBC, not being led by Joe Biden, not being led by Nancy Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries. No. They are deciding, wow, they're taking away abortion rights. I don't like the Supreme Court. On their fucking own. Do you not understand how wild that is? It's insane.
To the incarceration rates and the differences, and also the way our society has treated women for so long.
Meanwhile, what is Joe Biden doing? He's funding the cops more. He wants to put $40 billion. If you were to say, Mike, I want you to pick a profession with the highest per capita rate of fascist or fascist-aligned human beings, American local police is the group. And Joe Biden is funding them. He's packing them with weapons and and hiring more. He's building the fascist foot soldiers for our eventual repression. It'd be like if Abraham Lincoln moved the entire Union fleet to Charleston Harbor. It's like, here you go, Confederacy. Have the whole fucking American fleet. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, Joe? Biden's main admitted goal is to get Republicans to vote for Democrats, not to get people who don't vote to vote. What a lose. I mean, Republicans are told nonstop that Democrats are pedophilic, rapist election stealers. They're not gettable. Jesus. Sorry, 6cat. Thank you for the 16 months. I legitimately want you to tell me, if you were Joe Biden and you were trying to build a fascist America, now the only proviso is you can't physically be the fascist, right? But you have to create conditions so that the fascists have the easiest possible path to power in the next election. What would you do? I challenge you to name one thing differently than what Joe Biden is currently doing. I challenge you. Why are you being so confrontational? We need civility to maintain order. Exactly.
And so many of us thought, okay, but we were making progress, and we have been making progress, and now this is like such a giant step backwards. It's humiliating. It's embarrassing. Whether you go around the world and other countries, people in other countries say, what is wrong with America these days? What was once supposed to be this sort of shining beacon on a hill, shining light on a hill, and now it's going dark. It's like America's headed back to the medieval ages, and women this is not a safe place for women anymore. That's where this country has become, and it's a crying shame.
Thanks, buddy.
And hopefully,
like a Tom, how you doing, buddy?
Hopefully, there's enough of us who will stand up and act and take action, whether it's direct action by voting and participation, or whether it's action we're using our wallets and our pocketbooks to make sure that society sees there is a cost for going backwards, and the cost should not be borne by the least among us.
Are you watching the stream unsubbed? You're making income inequality worse. You are doing anti-praxis. We are the only Twitch stream that will not accept scam advertisers, and I will never fuck you over by selling you crap.